Hello, music lovers of the planet. How are you doing? Today is June 2nd. The world is a freaking mess. You've got a coronavirus that had people quarantined for 3 months now? And now you've got incredible unrest all over the place. Rest in peace, George Floyd. What the hell was that about? You know, cops suck when they're dirty cops. They're great when they're great people, but they really suck when they're creeps. Anyway, that's all I got to say about George Floyd because I'm so disgusted with the whole matter. It's just sickening. It's a sickening video and it's a sickening issue. But that's not why we're here. We're here because somebody who was looking at some of my videos asked me if I would do a video to show off my Genesis collection. So I am going to do, and I did one years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, but I've added to it since. So what I'm going to do is a video showcasing my Genesis 12-inch vinyl. And so we will start that right now. They only have 14 albums, 14 proper studio albums, I think. But I have a lot more than that. But that's because I got a lot of duplicates. Of course, there's a lot of 12-inch singles. And of course, there's live material and just 1 or 2 bootlegs in here. So I'm going to show you all. I'm going to show y'all everything that I have. Starting off with their very first album, From Genesis to Revelation. This is a domestic pressing of that album from here in the United States. Oh, by the way, Zhao is playing. Actually, it should be playing in the background, but there. Now it's playing in the background, more or less, and we'll go ahead and showcase this stuff. This is a relatively mint copy of their very first album, which a lot of people don't really even... a lot of people don't like this album. I guess because... well, I don't know why, because I like it. It was produced by Jonathan King, who's kind of a creep. So I understand that aspect of it. But the music itself, some of the compositions on here are actually pretty good. This is clearly a cutout. All right. So I guess you can't call it a mint copy. Here's the back. But I still think it's got some really good compositions on it and some decent recordings. After the core band did these recordings, I guess Jonathan King or somebody found it fit to add a bunch of strings and stuff to it. That doesn't bother me either, man. It sounds kind of like Moody Blues to me. Sounds like early Moody Blues to me. Boy, this album looks like it was never cleaned. I'm looking at it now, and it looks filthy. But a little dishwasher fluid should clean that right up. I haven't played this one in a long time, quite frankly, because compilations of this album have been licensed to so many different companies so that they can release their own version of it. And one company released this. Re-released the album with 4 extra tracks. Actually, 3 extra tracks, but they've always put the single version of Silent Sun on it. So that's usually the one I would listen to. But then I got this thing. So what is this? this. Here, I'll go ahead and open this up, man, because it's kind of neat. This is the box set of from Genesis to Revelation, and it's got this was a money grab, but I like it because it does have stereo and mono copies of that album from Genesis to Revelation, and then it's got 3 7-inch singles that replicate the original 7-inch releases. There they are. Yeah. Wait a minute. Oh, this is really cool too, because this has here's what the UK release would have looked like when it came out. Generally, it looked like this. There might be some minor details that that I'm missing. God, a little glary there. Sorry. I think I can fix that. How about now? All right. Man, it's a matte finish, I think. It's not really a glossy finish, and yet it's still very shiny. But anyway, that's what the front and the back look like. And comes with this nice lyric sheet. That's the first side, I suppose. Yeah. And then this is side 2. It starts off with the conker, so yeah. But anyway, nice replication of what these look like. This would be the mono reissue. And you can see there. Kind of what it would look like, except it was Not Bad Records, London. Jesus, it's a stupid label. I wish they replicated the actual labels. So, but anyway, there you go. And the mono mix and the stereo mix are pretty different. There's some profound differences in the sound, in the mixing. So kind of in the way that they edit, that the songs are edited. Most of the songs segue one into the next. So there you have that. That's mono. This box set has a stereo copy as well, with a blue label that's supposed to look kind of like that, but of course that's not Not Bad Records. God, who came up with that name? That's the company, that's the name that released this. It's kind of pathetic, but anyway. And this box set has a third record that I never even pulled out and listened to, but it's got singles, demos, and rarities. So they got Patricia, Try a Little Sadness, She Is Beautiful. They're all Image Blown Out, The Silent Sun, the single A side, That's Me, A Winter's Tale, and One-Eyed Hound. Those are the 3 singles single tracks that are not on the album that oftentimes companies that are licensed to release this they'll add those 3 tracks to the lineup. So, but anyway, here's a little booklet that comes with it. Right. Notes to Revelation. It's got some text in here. You know, I've never read this book. I'm a lazy son. A lot of times I'll get these things, these box sets, because I want to read these booklets, and then I get lazy and I don't read them. I like that. That's kind of neat. That would make a nice 7-inch single picture sleeve. All right, some of these pictures you've probably seen before, like I think that one has been around. So anyway, you got Anthony Phillips, you got Michael Rutherford, Tony Banks, Peter Gabriel, and damn, I can't remember the guys. I don't think it's Silver. Yeah, Jonathan Silver. It is John Silver who drums on this. Is it? Wait a minute, I see Chris Stewart. Maybe that's Chris Stewart? Yeah, Chris Stewart actually worked with them on drums. But anyway, no Steve Hackett, no Phil Collins. You got Anthony Phillips on 6 and 12 string guitar. And it looks like Chris Stewart played the drums on some of those single tracks. But they scrapped Chris Stewart. I guess he didn't cut it, or he left on his own. I'm not sure. But anyway, he was replaced by John Silver, and he worked he worked with the band on the album tracks, and they recorded it in a day. So, but anyway, here's the replica singles, and of course these are, it says demonstration sample not for sale, like it's a promotional record, but it's just, you know. Silent Sun, That's Me. A Winter's Tale and One-Eyed Hound. And apparently Where the Sour Turns to Sweet and In Hiding. Those were singles as well. Matter of fact, I have a copy of a re-release. I believe it's a re-release in my collection of 7-inch singles, which I'll do a separate video of that. But anyway, I thought this was a real nice box set to pick up, and oops, here. I appreciate having these. Anyway, so let me put this away. Well, that was the first album, and we're only 15 minutes into the video, so boy, this is this might be a long one. Anyway, all right, so Then these guys got a new drummer, John Mayhew, and they regrouped after that first album. Didn't do anything. It didn't do anything on the charts, man. And they released this album, Trespass. And this is a domestic copy of the Trespass album on ABC Records. It almost looks like a Steely Dan record because it's on ABC Records, but it's not. All right, this I got this new, man. I don't know how the hell I got a copy of this new, but I managed to score a sealed copy of this album as a gatefold on ABC Records many, many years ago. And of course I wanted a Charisma copy. Here, look at this. This is the gatefold of the domestic release. This is a little different than the Charisma import, because the Charisma import has like an inner sleeve to store the album, and it's the inner sleeve's got the lyrics, and this illustration is spread out in the entire opening. So but this is nice too, man. This works for me. Oh, here you go. Looking for Someone opens up the album. What a great opener. That's the track listing if you want to see it. You probably already know it if you're a big Genesis fan, and that's why you're probably watching this. All right. But anyway, so this is it. Domestic copy on ABC. A friend of mine, Beth, from high school, had a copy of the Charisma record, and she knew I was a spastic Genesis fan. She gave me this. I am eternally grateful to Beth for that. All right. And here you go. You can see that illustration's right in the middle of the crease. So that's kind of why I like the domestic copy. Paul Whitehead, man, what a brilliant artist anyway. And you can see this is not a first pressing because it's not on the scroll label, but still, man, how beautiful to have a British pressing of this. And this is a really good album. Okay, still no Collins, still no Hackett. It's still Anthony Phillips on guitar, and it's John Mayhew on the drums. John Mayhew passed away about 10 years ago, I think it was now. I remember that. And unfortunately, the original inner sleeve is not with this, but Beth put this together. She cut this together, made a Xerox copy and cut it together, and that's fine. So anyway, this is a real nice import copy, minus the inner sleeve. It's beautiful. There's no ring wear on this. Interesting how there's no Charisma Mad Hatter even on this re-release. I mean, I shouldn't say re-release, but this was a later pressing, and there is no Mad Hatter. It's on the inside. The famous Charisma label. It's only in here. There he is. You could see him. But this is a real clean copy of the album. And I really, really appreciate Beth's generosity, and I probably don't even deserve it. She was kind enough to give me that. Okay, their third studio album is Nursery Crime. If you're a Genesis fan, now you know where we're at, man. Because this is a great fucking album. Now you got Phil Collins and Steve Hackett, who joined the band. This is actually a domestic release. It was licensed to Buddha, but on the Genesis, on the Charisma, not the Genesis label, but the Charisma label. And this is what a Pink Scroll label looks like, okay? That's what we got on both sides, of course. I got this brand new from Square Deal Records. I think they were, I think they had a location in somewhere in California, and I can't remember the city. Doggone it. I think it was Square Deal Records. And I got a bunch of stuff from those guys. And this was one of them. This Pink Scroll Nursery Crime. It's domestic pressing. You know, it's not a British pressing, but it's on that old label. And as a matter of fact, and there you can see in the lower corner here, it's Buddha Records, okay? That's the distributor. That's the company you got licensed to. But here's Paul Whitehead's artwork. Right? Isn't that beautiful? Paul Whitehead, what a freaking masterpiece, man. What a genius that guy was. And then here's the inside with all the lyrics. And this basically is what the British import looks like. So, get in there. Get in there. I think there's something impeding the progress of this album to return to its slot. The giant hogweed is threatening to... Oh yeah, a friend of mine sent me this. Thank you, Laura. I forgot about that. The giant hogweed. The hogweed is actually a real plant, and it's really dangerous. You don't want to get near it. So consider yourself warned. Yeah, this is a great album, man. Musical Box, which actually a lot of you know, Anthony Phillips was actually responsible for the writing that introductory part. Musical Box. All right. Here is a British pressing. It's not an original pressing, it's a later pressing. Oh, for God's sake. Yeah. This is actually on the that Dippy Blue label that they started using in 79 or 80. I don't know why they started, I don't know why they would switch over to something like this when you've got that classic Mad Hatter one with the Cheshire Cat. I like that original brownish label, man, a lot more than this. So I don't know why I even bothered to get this. Maybe I thought that this was an earlier pressing, and of course I was wrong. All right, so the next album, their fourth studio album, is Foxtrot. And this is, I think this might actually be maybe not a first pressing, but an early pressing anyway. And I don't think that was on the Scroll label at this point. But it is on that original Mad Hatter label. And this, I picked this up new. Somehow I got a new copy of this. And come on, Watcher of the Skies, Timetable, get them out by Friday. Can Utility and the Coastliners. Can Utility and the Coastliners might be one of my favorite Genesis songs ever, because Phil Collins, when he comes in on the drums, he just destroys the place. And it's like a madhouse. And Tony Banks on his Mellotron. Thank God for Steve Hackett, who suggested they get the Mellotron. What a brilliant guy. And Steve Hackett's career, I've been following that forever. Anybody who's watching my channel probably knows. And then of course you have Horizons, and of course the just ridiculously legendary Supper's Ready to close the album. So, but thank God Steve Hackett joined and said, hey man, you should get a Mellotron, because that Mellotron is kind of key to me on a bunch of key Genesis tracks, right on through to Wind and Wuthering. Okay, so, oh, I didn't even open this. I didn't open this up. One thing that I didn't like about this particular, they put a white bar in the middle. For the spine, they kind of interrupted the artwork. So when you spread it out like this, there's still a line in the middle there. They didn't do that on the Nursery Crime, but they did it on this Foxtrot. But what are you gonna do? And then here is the inside of this thing. You can see the band on the bottom, and Richard McPhail is band friend. There he is. I think he's recently written a book about hanging out with the band, and I would love to get a copy of that book. But anyway, Foxtrot on Charisma Records in England. And this is, I believe, an early pressing of that. Maybe not a first pressing, but an early pressing of the album, and no ring wear. Beautiful shape. Here's a domestic non-gatefold copy of it. Again on the Charisma label. But again, it was licensed to Buddha Records. And it's actually cut out. It's actually overstock. It wasn't selling, man. It didn't sell. Well, I bought it. I oughta. Alright, so. I like that the British pressings, generally they have a lined inner sleeve, which is kind of nice, and I usually replace them when they don't, but I have yet to do that with these. Okay, so So there's my domestic copy of this album. All right, then they put their first live album out, Genesis Live. And this is, I think I must have got this used because it's so beat up. Again, this one's licensed to Buddha. All right, but what a great live album, Jesus. The bass pedal solo by Michael Rutherford. At the beginning of the musical box, I think it is. But I thought this was interesting looking record because that label is actually kind of small. All right, so this is a domestic pressing of that. Another cutout too, Jesus. All right. And here is a British pressing of that very same record, and this is a much cleaner copy. Glossy finish. All right. I can't remember where I got this from. Printed by James Upton Limited, England. You could see this album is dedicated to Richard MacPhail, who left April '73. So Richard's not with them anymore by this time. But you can see that this is Genesis, and the catalog number for this is Class 1. On the earlier studio albums, it was CAS 1052, I think was Nursery Crime, and 1058 was Foxtrot. All of a sudden they have some weird classification, some different identifier. But anyway, that is this is a British pressing of this classic live album on Class 1. That catalog number is kind of an oddity to me. I don't know why they use that weird catalog number. But anyway, look at it. Beautiful pressing. Mint, 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 mint. Minty, mint. All right. After that live album, these guys went into the studio and they did this. They did Selling England by the Pound. This is my original domestic pressing. This is the original copy that I bought. I started buying Genesis albums from Wind and Wuthering backwards. Back in '77. I got Wind and Wuthering, and then Trick of the Tail, and then The Lamb, and then this. So this was actually the fourth album I owned by this band. And the domestic copy comes with this this inner sleeve, or not inner sleeve, but this insert with the lyrics. And you can see they're hanging out in New York, Essex House in the background. Yeah, man. And I don't think that this is, I think that this is actually, it's on the Charisma label, and it's not even licensed to Buddha. I think this was a Charisma release in the States. Probably the only one, really, that's not licensed to Buddha. But anyway, this is I took care of this record, man. It's in mint shape, near mint shape, I should say. Yeah, when this album came out, man, they had, in England, they stuck a little, like a replica pound note. Man, I wish I had a copy of that. I don't, but I do have this. This is an Italian copy of, an Italian pressing of Selling England, and it's kind of neat. It's a gatefold. It's a gatefold, and what's inside? It's all the lyrics in Italian. Okay? It does have an inner sleeve that has the lyrics in English. So they thought of everybody in Italy. This is also on Charisma Records. Here, side A. Oh. Yeah, this is side 1. See? And you can see, I don't know, these Italian records, man, they always have like a little stamp. You can see that right underneath the rabbit. There's a little round stamp. They had to stamp these things. What they're stamping it for, I have no idea. Anyway, I got this brand new. I got a copy of this new. And this, it's a nice clean pressing, man. I love it. I love it. So, here we go. Put this away. So this is the 5th studio album, right? Oh, and on the back, nice live shot. I should have showed you that outside the sleeve, schmo. Yeah, now you can see what's going on there. It's kind of cool. All right. Then I got a copy of this album, Rock Roots. This is a German? Yeah, printed in Germany. It's a German release, Rock Theater. All right. And the reason I got this, at least the reason I think it's nice to have a copy of this, is because there's a version of Watcher of the Skies on here. It's like a single edit. When they released it as a single, because Watcher of the Skies is a pretty long track, they did a re-recording of it. Apparently, it's not. It can't be just a remix. It's got to be a re-recording, and it's very different. So that version is on this Rock Theater album, pressed in Germany. If you can get a copy of this, well, actually, I guess you could hear it on any any number of their box sets. I think that very track is available on their 2007 re-releases, remasters. But it's on Fontana Records. That happens to be side 2. And this I got brand new. And it's in mint shape. Very quiet pressing, man. In Germany, like in Holland, usually the pressings are very, very quiet. This is one of those. It's super quiet and it's real nice to have. So this Rock Theater album, very cool record to have a copy of this for that Watcher of the Skies. All right. Here's their next studio album. What do you even say about this? Because it's still just a phenomenal record. This, I don't even have, I used to have a domestic copy of this. I don't even have that anymore. I just got rid of it, I guess. But I have several copies of the British pressing. The way I understand it, there were problems with these pressings where they were noisy pressings. And I have to admit that there are more pops and ticks on these records. Here's a second copy, British pressing. They're relatively noisy. I don't know if that's what we're talking about here when they say that they had problems with the pressings, but at any rate, here it is at British pressing, and this iconic album cover by Hipgnosis. These British pressings, I always hated domestic pressings because the record labels, if there was any kind of special custom labeling in England, they just said, screw that, man. We're not going to bother with that here in America. So what you have here is the track listing on, from side 1 and 2 on one side, apparently on side A, and side B has this cool custom label. I'll never forget when I got this thing and I opened it up and I saw that. I just thought, man, I don't know, man. I love stuff like that. That's got to be like fetishist behavior, man. I just think it's so cool. It is cool, man. So part of the Hipgnosis artwork on that label, and I love it. And of course, here's the inner sleeve for the first record. Side 1 has all the lyrics. Side 2 has all the lyrics for side 2. Actually, I don't think that they quite line up quite like that, yeah. But the inserts for this album are they're neat. Second record looks the same. Okay, and the lyric insert is very similar. This is side 3. There's the Raven. Okay, so, and inside, of course, is the story. Keep your fingers out of my eye. That's how it starts off. I remember reading this whole thing, and I think I fell asleep twice trying to read it, because I don't know what the hell Peter Gabriel's talking about, but he wrote that in that little story on the inside. Genesis have been criticized for not tying this album together by the end of the record with some kind of like meaningful concept. Who cares? Who the hell cares, man? It's one of the best rock albums ever, with some of the best drumming ever. Phil Collins, and anybody who knows me knows, I think Phil Collins is one of my musical heroes. And what I like about Phil Collins is how Keith Moon is one of his heroes, and that makes perfect sense, man, because Phil Collins is, the way he drums, or the way he used to drum anyway, is kind of sloppy. And yet it was brilliant. It was tight. It was fantastic. Phil Collins knew how to syncopate. And I think that that's where I learned how to overdrum. I think it was by listening to Phil and trying to take it a step further. So anyway, here's a Japanese copy of the album. And rather than pull this out, I was just disappointed because it doesn't duplicate the cool artwork on the labels on sides 2 and side 4. It's just got a Charisma label. And quite frankly, this Japanese pressing had more pops and ticks in it than I would have ever expected. Japanese pressings usually are very, very quiet. This one was noisier than probably should have been, but anyway, it is what it is. It's still a great album. Still like to play it on my stereo. Here's Genesis Rock Roots. All this is from Genesis to Revelation with those 4 extra tracks. It's got The Silent Sun, which was, it says it's a different matrix number to the album version, which is stereo. So the Silent Sun single version is a mono pressing. That's Me is the B-side. And then A Winter's Tale and One-Eyed Hound is at the end of side 2, those 2 tracks. Okay, so that's Genesis Rock Roots. That's what this is. And at the time when it came out, I was really thrilled to have this because of those extra tracks, but now I got that big box set. Kind of really don't even have any reason to keep that album, but I still have it. Here's In the Beginning, same thing. This is licensed to London, but London, had the original rights to the album in America, and this is domestic pressing. In the Beginning, I remember getting that back in '77 or '78. Same thing here, Profile, Genesis with Peter Gabriel. This is exactly the same thing as the Rock Roots. It's got the it doesn't even have all the single tracks on here. It has A Winter's Tale and That's Me. So this is even sloppier. German pressing, I believe. Yep, German pressing. Right, then Peter Gabriel leaves and they put this album out, and holy shit. Actually, they got together with Steve Hackett to put out, it was Phil Collins and Mike Rutherford who hooked up with Steve in the studio to record his Voyage of the Acolyte album. And they decided that they would stay together. I think that might have been instrumental in them staying together. And that's a good thing. So here is Trick of the Tail, British pressing, Trick of the Tail. Here's actually side A. And this, I believe, is a relatively early pressing. This isn't my original first copy. My original first copy was a domestic pressing on Atco or Atlantic. But after a while, I was itchy to get a British pressing with the Mad Hatter on it. Kind of obsessed by the getting British pressings. Here's the inner sleeve. Right. All these cool characters from all their songs on this record, man. And this is a great album. It's a great album. "50 minutes and counting." I'm going to try to burn through this last part here. But anyway, that's Trick of the Tail. This here is a bootleg of Trick outtakes. Yeah, see? Smith and Company, Beloved Summer. I don't know if they ever got these guys. The FBI is probably still looking for them. I think this is actually an import pressing. I think this was pressed in England or overseas somewhere. It's got that kind of a look to it. The only problem I have with this is that the sound quality of these tracks is just horrible. Ripples Part 1, Ripples Part 2, Robbery, Assault, and Battery. It's got a 6 minute, 15-second version of Robbery, Assault, and Battery, but it just sounds like crap. I guess it was a run through, and but it just sounds horrible. The sound quality on this thing is crummy, so I wouldn't even mind getting rid of this because I'll never listen to it. I have it, but I just can't bother to listen to it. And at the time, I think Beloved Summer is It's Yourself. Beloved Summer is the first track on this record, and it was a B-side. It's actually I believe it's the B-side, It's Yourself, but it's just this crummy sounding recording of it on this record. And I don't, I was really hoping for a lot when I bought this. When I saw this, I found it and I bought it, and maybe I'll try to listen to it one more time, and maybe I'll just get rid of it because I don't really have any purpose for it. Next studio album is Wind and Wuthering, and this is the very first record I bought by this guy, by this band. This is my introduction to Genesis. Not this copy. I went and got a domestic copy of it on Atco Records, and I remember falling asleep. I put it on and I promptly fell asleep listening to it. That was the first day. The second day I played it, I woke up. What a great album. 11th Hour Lamar. What a great song, 11th Hour Lamar. So this is a British copy of this iconic album. One for the Vine, Your Own Special Way, which is actually a beautiful song. What Gorilla, Phil Collins, with that spastic talk about syncopation. I mean, great stuff. All in Mouse's Night, Blood on the Rooftops, one of the best Genesis songs ever recorded, and that was credited to Hackett and Collins. That's who is credited with writing that song, Steve Hackett and Phil Collins, Blood on the Rooftops. That has one of the best Mellotron parts I have ever heard in my life. And then, of course, the instrumental Unquiet Slumbers for the Sleepers. It goes into In That Quiet Earth, and then that goes into Afterglow. And what a great trio of songs there. What a trifecta of musical effort, man. That's fucking good stuff. So if you like Genesis and you don't have this album, somehow you missed the boat, man. You got to get a copy of this. Here's the original inner sleeve, and whoever did the artwork on this thing is brilliant. I love it. This is beautiful. All right. So, they still had some music left over after they put this album out. So they released this. Spot the Pigeon, which has Match of the Day, Pigeons Inside and Out. Now this is not a British or domestic pressing. This is a Canadian pressing. I have 4 freaking copies of this. I have no need for 4 copies of this. Oh shoot. I'm gonna have to glue that. But I remember when this came out, my friend Beth, again, my friend in all things Genesis when I was in high school, Beth, she got a copy of this, and boy was I jealous, because I said, oh my God, I gotta get a copy of this. It's on blue vinyl. It's a blue record. I need this. So I did get a copy of this. Well, obviously I got 4. So but anyway, yeah, the seams are coming apart, so I need to glue them. I'll take care of that after this video. But I ended up getting 4 copies of this. The British EP is a 7-inch record, which I have plenty of. So I have 4 copies of this. One of them is still sealed. It was never opened up. It still has a blue sticker on it, a blue hype sticker, a whoop-de-doo. I don't know, man. These hype stickers, I kind of think it's cool to have them, but I'm not all gung-ho about it. I know some people are. I know Beetle Brad is. My buddy Beetle Brad, he loves them. I like having them, and I try to keep them, but I don't know, it drives me nuts trying to stick them somewhere if I if I can't get it off, or whatever. Anyway, here's Genesis Seconds Out. This is a British pressing. Again, this was an album that I did have a domestic copy of it, and I might still have it in a box somewhere, but oh, this is interesting. Wait a minute. This might not be British. This might be from Preston in the Netherlands. How come I'm not seeing that? And the reason I say that is because look at this label. The Seconds Out has a custom label, man. And the domestic pressing had that custom label. For some reason, this pressing, it's not a British pressing. This is, I believe it's either German or Holland pressing. And how come I'm not finding that on here? No, this is London. Oh, here it is. Yep, printed in the Netherlands. Right there, so. Funny. This thing came out in '78, and they still had things that say, also playable in mono. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, this is, you know, I know people love this album, and I know I'm in the minority when I say I have a hard time listening to this album anymore. It's not my favorite live album. It doesn't even come close. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's Phil Collins. Maybe it's the way he sings some of the songs. I don't know why. I don't know why. Somebody tell me why I don't like this album, because it's not an album I can listen to anymore. When I first got it, I loved it. And now I'm not into it. That's sacrilegious. I know that. I know that. Beautiful album cover. And a great selection of songs. but I don't really like it. I hate to say that. I don't really like it. I don't know. Maybe Darren Locke can tell me why I don't like that album. What's wrong with me? All right. Seconds Out came out. That was a huge album for them. And then they put out, then there were 3. Steve Hackett leaves. And this album comes out. Now this album I like. And I did get a British copy of it. Like right away, I believe. Okay, so even this one was slightly noisy. I remember hearing pops and ticks on it, but I think I was just a little too picky about surface noise. Maybe that's what it is. My standards were so high. If I heard a pop, I'd be like, damn it, I don't want to hear that. Nobody does, but you're always going to hear just a little bit of surface noise. Now this actually has, when I bought this album, it was so new, and they were preparing to do a show, Knebworth Park, Genesis and Jefferson Starship. God, it's Jefferson Starship with Genesis, really? We built this city? Please. So anyway, I have this original insert. You could, if you bought this album in England and you wanted to go see this show, you could send away for tickets. You could get shirts. T-shirts, sweatshirts. Priority booking application form. Please send this many tickets to the address below. So this little insert, it's kind of cool, I suppose. And I did go see them at Madison Square Garden. And I got this pamphlet. It's a fold-out poster. This was the I think that this was the yeah, it's this big fold-out poster. Here, look at this. Here, I'll pause so I can open this up and show it to you, man. Because I think this was the program. This was the program. I believe this was what they were selling as the program for the show. All right, it's got all kinds of cool stuff in here about their equipment and blah, blah, blah. But opens up into this poster, which kind of blows my mind. I actually forgot about this, man. I forgot that this was even in there. But anyway, there it is. The program for, I saw him at Madison Square Garden. In fact, I tried to record it. I smuggled a recorder in there, and it was so distorted. I did a shit job. So, but anyway, here's the program for that concert tour. And I think this is a good album. In fact, I think it's an excellent record. I love that Phil is still drumming on real drums for the most part. Kicks ass on it, percussion-wise. He's brilliant. There's some brilliant drum parts on here. Okay, but this is a British pressing. Here is a compilation, a Japanese compilation album, The Story of Genesis. This has Starts off with the knife, then the musical box, then Watcher of the Skies, then Supper's Ready, then I Know What I Like, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Dance on a Volcano, Squonk, Ripples, 11th Earl of Mar, Your Own Special Way, Burning Rope, and Follow You, Follow Me. So it came out after Then There Were Three, and it's an interesting cross-section or an interesting overview of their career up to that point. But, you know, how do you... It's certainly no best of. I mean, I don't know. I had to get it, though. I can say this. I've played this, the records in here, and they are quiet and clean, and that is a plus. For sure. All right. Nice Japanese compilation record. Here's Buddha Records. I think that it was it Buddha? Oh, actually Polydor. Got the license to put this out. I had a clean copy of this, got rid of it. Now here is a promotional copy that's really beat up. All kinds of ringware and stuff. And it had that when I bought it. I wish I didn't sell my original compilation or my original copy of this. But anyway, this is really just Nursery Crime and Foxtrot. That's all it is. Then they put out Duke. Wow, what can you say about Duke? You know, I know a lot of people didn't like Then There Were Three. They were very critical of it. Oh, the songs aren't very long and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of ballads on there and I don't know. But it's a good record. This album, though, nice comeback album. This is a British pressing. In fact, I just played this a couple of nights ago. All right. Nice custom labels. Got that fat little guy running around on the label. So, and this is a good album. And clean album, too. This wasn't noisy. It was nice to get a British pressing that wasn't noisy. After The Lamb. And here is the official program for 1980. So yeah, try to keep my programs with the albums from those tours. Here's a great shot, man. Here's some good shots. Phil, Michael. Phil Collins, 1972. Anyway, great album. Picked up a Japanese copy of it. Audiophile edition, virgin vinyl. This is also very, 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 very clean. And then this one. I just picked this up not too long ago. Why did I bother to get it? Well, because like Beetle Brad, I'm a sucker for color vinyl. And here you have it on clear vinyl. Well, sort of clear. It's like a smoky, literally it's a smoky vinyl. It's kind of like got a marble smoky finish, if you can. I don't think that you can see it. I don't think you're going to pick it up on this camera in this light. Yeah, maybe. Nah, I don't think so. There's kind of a smoky marble finish to this, and I don't think that you're gonna get that. but take my word for it, it's in there. And again, I was a little disappointed with this because this record is freaking heavy. It's very thick. But I don't know, man, what's with Genesis? It must be a curse because there were more pops and ticks on this pressing than should be on a brand new album. It's just, I don't know why. I don't know what's the deal there, Jeeves. What gives, man? Why so noisy? So, you know, maybe I'll play it again and again, and maybe some of those, you know, I clean my albums before I play them with an actual record cleaner and a brush. So, I don't know, man, what the problem is there. Here is the next album, Abacab. I liked Abacab. I think Abacab's a really good record. It's got a lot of good songs on it, but he really started to get, well, I guess on Duke he started to get into that drum machine, which he used on his solo album. Here is a British pressing of Abacab with that gorgeous custom label. All right, Charisma Records, limited. Nice. You get to the end of the second side, it's a song called Another Record. Put another record on. 'Cause you know you need it. It's not a bad idea. Put another record on. So here's a British pressing of the album. All right. Here's a domestic pressing of the album Abacab, but this is a very special record, and I'm about to show you why. I had a friend. I still have a friend. Her name is Chris. She was a friend from high school. She had a boyfriend at the time who worked in a pressing plant and for Atlantic. And he pressed, she told me he pressed 10 copies of this in white vinyl, and he gave her a copy. I've never seen or heard of another copy of this album. There's a generic record label on both sides, but you do see Townhouse. It says Townhouse London, and it does have the catalog number STA 814775. That's the B side. This is the A side. So, I could be wrong. This is 775, and this is 776. But when she showed me this, I said, oh wow, I would love to have that. She said, will you go buy me a copy of the album and give me that, and I'll give you this. So I promptly ran to the record store, picked up a copy of this Abacab album, a regular copy, and I gave it to her. And I don't know, man. I've talked about this before, but it didn't get any kind of it didn't get any kind of attention. I've played it. It's slightly noisy because I guess, you know, Chris probably beat it up a little bit. She probably didn't know how to take care of it. All right, here's the inner sleeve. Same as the British release, basically. But this white pressing, I mean, Genesis didn't have a lot of colored vinyl records pressed. That blue Canadian Spot the Pigeon is the first one I ever heard of, color vinyl. And then Invisible Touch came out, and they put that out as a 7-inch single in England on clear vinyl. Okay, makes sense. Invisible Touch, clear vinyl. Okay, I get it. That's very clever. All right, makes sense. But this, when my friend Chris showed me this, and this was back in early 80s when this album was pressed. So, but anyway, here is my white vinyl copy of Abacab. Nobody has it but me, basically, I think. I'm the only one in the world with a copy of that. So, here, now we're getting to more 12-inch singles, because that Canadian Spot the Pigeon Blue record was the first. Here you have Keep It Dark and Nama Nanu, which was a non-album B-side. And then, of course, on this record, you get the Abacab, you get the long version of Abacab. It's just the album version. They say long version, it's nothing special. It's the LP version. Here's another single, Genesis, No Reply at All. Nama Nanu on the B-side. I believe that this is a Netherlands. I think this was pressed in the Netherlands. Made in Holland, yep. On Vertigo. Okay, on Vertigo Records. All right. And Nama Nanu on the B-side. Nice, clean pressing. I gotta say, when I get records from Holland, usually I don't hear anything but the music. I don't get pops and ticks. I get a nice, clean sound, man. So I'm real happy with my pressings from Holland. I got a bunch of them. I got a Kate Bush album, pressed in Holland, Never Forever, as clean and quiet as could be. So, and they seemed consistently to be consistently clean pressings. So, but anyway, here's a 12-inch, No Reply at All, Nama Nanu, Vertigo Records. And now you get to Three Sides Live. This one happens to be signed by Chester Thompson, who I met with Jeff. I was hanging out with Jeff Pele when he owned a music shop, and he had Chester Thompson come do a drum clinic, and hung out with him and a few other guys. And Chester signed my album cover, which was really cool. This is a British pressing on Charisma Records. So it's actually got a fourth side that's live. Side 4 is One for the Vine. Three Sides Live, you know, in America, the fourth side was 5 studio recordings. But in England, it's One for the Vine, Fountain of Salmacis, and It and Watcher of the Skies. And then as they get done with It and Watcher of the Skies, that was the encore for that night, wherever they were playing. You get to hear Ethel Merman start singing There's No Business Like Show Business, and it fades out as the audience is cheering and screaming and clapping. So, and there you go. Home taping's killing music, kids. So you just stop it. It's killing it. Honey, baby, Jesus, help us all. All right. But anyway, I don't know why I have that. Anyway, here's the inside. But this is my British pressing of Three Sides Live with Chester's signature. Thank you, Chester. I appreciate it, dude. Great drummer, man. Great work with Zappa, that's for sure. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, you know what? Here's a bootleg record. I can't remember what's on it. It's such a stupid record, but I have it. It's got Phil Collins. I forget what songs are on here. Here, I'll pull it out and show it to you. Stupid bootleg. I should play this and find out what the hell's on here. I can't remember what it is. I can't remember. Here, this is Say It's All Right, Joe, maybe? That's what that picture looks like, because he's lighting up a cigarette wearing a hat. But I can't remember what the hell this is. So it's time to find out. Well, in a few minutes. Then the self-titled Genesis album. This is a British pressing, again, on Charisma Virgin Records. They've merged. I don't know if this was the album they merged on, Charisma and Virgin, but this is a nice pressing, man. This was nice and quiet. This came out in '83. It was nice, man, because again, it has these cool custom labels. Okay, has something to do with the cover artwork. So it's got these cool labels that reflect that, and this has you know, Mama, That's All, Home by the Sea, Second Home by the Sea. Those last two songs are a nice chunk of music. Illegal Alien, that's gonna fly today. Taking It All Too Hard, Just a Job to Do. I thought that was actually a pretty cool song. Silver Rainbow's a nice tune, and It's Gonna Get Better is real nice. So a lot of die-hard old Genesis fans probably aren't too fond of this album. I actually kind of like it. There's songs on here I like. And it came with this nice lyric in her sleeve, or in her bag, as they say, across the pond. And anyway, I don't play it often. I used to, but I don't play it often because, well, there's just so much more music to play. But every once in a while, I did pull this out within a couple of years ago. Within the last year or so, I think I cranked it up. I played it. And it felt weird because it's kind of dated. 1983, right? Here is a Japanese pressing of that same album. I picked this up relatively inexpensive years and years ago. Weird OBI strip because there's nothing on the back. Almost makes you wonder if it's a bootleg or something, but it's not. I don't believe it is. It's on it's not on a Charisma label either. It's on Vertigo Records, and I kind of dig it because this Vertigo label's kind of cool, you know, like from outer space. All right, but anyway, let's put this back and continue on. When they put this album out, I think Mama came out on I think they released Mama as a 7-inch and a 12-inch record first. And so, oh my God, these Japanese inner sleeves are so, I mean, they protect the album, but the problem is the sleeve itself gets mangled. It's just absolute shit. It's a shitty system. Son of a bitch, man. So, but, all right, anyway, there you go. There's that. And when this album came out in England, they released it as a 7-inch and a 12-inch. The 12-inch, I got a copy of it right here. The 12-inch record has Mama on the A side, and it's going to get better on the B side. And these are actually longer versions than on the record album. This has a flaw in it, but I have 2 or 3 other copies of this record. So, and that flaw is actually, I don't really, it looks like you would hear it. I don't remember hearing it, but I guess it's so noisy at that point. But anyway, Mama and It's Gonna Get Better are longer versions. Mama's just, it fades out longer. And on the LP version, there's a few edits where they just chop out a few spots as it's headed toward the fade out. And It's Gonna Get Better has an extra verse. So there you go, man. Here, let's put it this way. I know that this is the way it's supposed to go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, back in '83, man, when I was buying Genesis stuff, I would see these 12-inch singles come out, and I go, oh man, how cool! And then I'd end up buying another copy. I think I have 3 copies of that freaking record. I mean, I like the songs. It's Gonna Get Better is a beautiful song. So here's That's All, and Taking It All Too Hard on the A side of this record, and the B side is Firth the Fifth, a live version of Firth the Fifth. And that's all, folks. All right, on Charisma Records, Charisma Virgin Records, and of course I got these brandy new, so of course it's mint shape. But I like that. Again, custom label. 2 custom labels for this record, and it's nice to have Firth the Fifth, a real nice live version of Firth the Fifth. So that's all, folks. Ooh, son of a bitch. This is why my videos are 2 hours long, because I can't get the goddamn records back in the sleeve. Holy shit. Oh my God. Anybody who's still watching this, I apologize. Oh, before I go any further, here's the 3rd and final UK single, Illegal Alien. Here you got all the lyrics on the back here. And this 12-inch single was kind of cool because, it has Illegal Alien is on the A side. I think it's just the one song, yeah. There's another custom label for this 45. And the B-side is Turn It On Again Live, and it's a freaking medley of all kinds of songs from the 60s. They just started going through all kinds of stuff like God, I can't even remember, but it's a unique live version of Turn It On Again. So, and let's see how long it takes me to get this in here. Oh, look at that, record time. Ha, record time, get it? All right, one of the things I like, one of the collectibles that I have is this cool 12-inch Holland pressing of Home by the Sea. And then the second Home by the Sea is on the B side. And again, Illegal Alien, if you want to hear it again. All right, and this is on Vertigo Records. That same cool spaceship label. Man, this record's thick too. Thicker than most records, all right? All right, man. Home by the Sea, second Home by the Sea, with this really cool picture sleeve. This isn't coming apart, is it? No. A beautiful record. All right, that's one of my favorites. All right, now you come to Invisible Touch. 1986, they put out Invisible Touch. This is again, this is a British pressing on. It's no longer Charisma Virgin. Now it's just Virgin Records. But it's nice. These British pressings. I mean, I had a copy of this on Atlantic when it came out, and it's just an ugly Atlantic Records label. Atlantic Records label's not ugly, but it's ugly when you can get this cool one out of the UK. So you have this custom record label. Yeah, side 1 is orange, side 2 is green. I thought this, when this came out back in '86, man, all right, it's a dated record. There's no question about it. But I still love some of these songs. Invisible Touch is not one of them. Kevin Gilbert famously did a performance of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway at a Prague festival, I forget, back, I think it was '95. And he comes out with a boombox on his shoulder, hits the play button, and Invisible Touch starts coming out of this boombox. So he looks at the boombox and he throws it down and he smashes it. Fucking genius, Kevin Gilbert. And then proceeds to go into The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Of course, the whole crowd went frickin' nuts. But Invisible Touch is one of the weakest Genesis songs, I think, ever. It's just this popish, okay, it's some poppy song. All right, great. You know, but it's just, I don't know, man, I think of Genesis, I don't think of these albums. I think of The Lamb. Okay. That's my thing. Maybe Foxtrot. But being a collector, I continued to buy their records. And back in '86, this was fine, man. This has some really good songs on it. Some ballads. It's got Land of Confusion. It's got Tonight, Tonight, Tonight. In Too Deep, I think, is a really beautiful ballad. So, and then it comes with this inner sleeve with all the lyrics okay, and that silly picture of Phil looking at Michael. So, all right, man. Of course, they put out a bunch of singles from this album because, you know, it's all about product. So, at least that's what Brand X says, right? It's all about product. So, here's a domestic copy of Invisible Touch. And then the last domino is on the B-side. I think there's a different... Oh, there's a special remix version of Invisible Touch that is by John Tokes Potoker. You gonna listen to that? I don't know if I've ever even heard the whole thing. Probably never will, but I have it. Here's a British pressing of that same record. Yeah, I'm not even going to bother pulling it out. Here's Into Deep and Do the Neurotic. It looks like Do the Neurotic is actually the A-side, and that's a non-album track. Do the Neurotic. It's an instrumental, and it's a cool instrumental. Interesting. Here is the picture disc of that same record. Okay. Virgin Records. Here is Land of Confusion with those goofy puppets. That was actually pretty cool at the time, man, I suppose, but all right, and this has a remixed version of the Land of Confusion on the A side, and then it has Land of Confusion, the LP version, and Feeding the Fire, a non-album track, and the Feeding the Fire is a really great song. Feeding the Fire is one of my favorite songs that's not on the album, quite frankly. And then here's Tonight Tonight in the Glow of the Night. And Paper Late is on the B-side. And then on the B-side, they put a 12-inch remix of Tonight Tonight Tonight. John Tokes Potoker. How do you say his name? Somebody tell me that too, because I don't know. I don't know. And then there's, because they can do this, there's a special release of the same single on a gatefold. And actually, it's got one less song on it. They nixed Paper Late for this particular release. And here, let's take a look at the record and see what it looks like. Okay. Oh, Paper Late is on here. How about that? But they don't list it on the sleeve. Ain't that something? So, okay. But anyway, that label is very, very plain looking. I find that interesting. It's a, here. Let's see what this says. Yeah, they don't have it listed. Side B, it shows Tonight, 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 and that's it. They don't show Paper Late on the record, but I did see it. It's there. It's listed on the label. Limited edition gatefold sleeve includes tour guide and live photo. Wow. Wow. No wonder I bought it, because I'm a sucker. All right, and one more single, Throwing It All Away. And actually, this was interesting because the A-side was Throwing It All Away live version. So if you're going to get the 12-inch single, if you get the 7-inch single, you get the studio track. If you buy the 12-inch single, you're going to get a different version of the song. You might not want it. I don't know if you're interested in it or not, but anyway. It's the live version. And side B, I'd Rather Be You, is a non-album, typical Phil Collins sounding, Phil Collins solo sounding song. And Invisible Touch Live is after that song. So there's two B-side tracks. Both of them are non-album because, All right. Then these guys put out We Can't Dance. Now, We Can't Dance, that song I Can't Dance is not one of my favorite songs, but I thought that this was a really good album. Back in 91 or 92 when this came out, 91, I was living in Richmond, Virginia. I had just moved down there, and I was living down there. I followed my job. I was down there for about a year after, and then this record came out. But I liked this album. And I didn't have it on LP. I had it on CD for the longest time. But about 2.5, 3 years ago, I looked around on Discogs and found this copy. And this is a very clean copy. And I like the inner sleeves. And I like the custom labels, man. These custom labels are nice. Side 1 has the picture. Side 2 has the track listing for both sides, okay? So, I like that. And I like these inner sleeves with some artwork and some lyrics, man. They're nice. They're real nice. This is, when I was looking at the pictures of this release, I said, I gotta get a copy of this. I just wanted it to complete my collection, basically. That's what I wanted. All right, I'm not gonna pull out the other ones because we're at the tail end here. But I do like this album. The songs on here are good for the most part. I know Jesus, He Knows Me. That's another popish tune, man. No Son of Mine is also, sometimes that chorus can grate on my nerves, but it's okay, man. It's listable. And here's the 12-inch of No Son of Mine. Sure, I've had this actually for a long time. It's a British release, and this is a gatefold sleeve. I have a copy of something in there. Here, this came with a came with this. So, wow. And one day I'll put that in a frame and I'll hang it somewhere. All right, so, but anyway, of course this got a sticker on it that shouldn't be there, but anyway, I actually picked this up long time ago. But the album I picked up just a couple of years ago, man, and I'm actually glad I got a copy of it, and it's in great shape. So this is mint. The album is mint. One other thing I want to show you, this box set bootleg, Genesis, some old, some new. Look it up on Discogs, man. You can't buy it on Discogs, but you can look it up and find out what's on there. This has some really good BBC tracks. Get them out by Friday. Twilight Alehouse and Watcher of the Skies. And it also has some live versions of more recent, like, late 70s Genesis recordings. It's got another version of Supper's Ready. And it has, on side 6, it's got 5 broadcast tracks of Peter Gabriel, On the Air, White Shadow, Salisbury Hill, Here Comes the Flood, and The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. So this is actually kind of neat. Nice 3-record box set. I picked that up and was thrilled. I got that years and years ago. Anyway, I think that's it. It's an hour and 45 minutes. You're probably sick of me, and I don't blame you. See you next time.